there and welcome to this review of the One Way UK Daily Devotionals for the 12th through to the 16th of December. We'll be covering John chapter 13 verses 2 down to 19. And we had a theme for this particular week. The theme is a reality check on leadership. Now if you see me glance down, as usual, it's because I'm just checking things out on the laptop because I don't remember every single word that's gone out without refreshing myself. So on Monday we began this series on a reality check on leadership, and we saw Jesus coming to wash the feet of his disciples. And interestingly, John was there. John put it like this: Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, rose from supper and laid aside his garments, took a towel and girded himself. After that he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. It is a picture of Jesus taking up the role and the function of the lowliest servants that existed at that time. We checked out on the day and thought, yep, your feet could get pretty mucky. And the lowliest servant's job was in fact to wash the feet of guests in a house. You know, I've heard of some Christian leaders who develop what is not my invention, I've heard called a conference walk, head down, avoiding eye contact. Jesus didn't do that. Jesus faced people, and as we shall see, he was prepared for impromptu questions. I think that Jesus teaches us that true leaders are servers. And on Tuesday, we moved on and we were looking at the fact that true leaders may be servers, but there are boundaries to serving. The situation is Peter, and he said to Jesus, "You shall never wash my feet." And Jesus answered him, "If I do not wash you, you have no part with me." So Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "He who is bathed needs only to wash his feet, but is completely clean." You see, there is a point in which, as leaders, it's very easy to get involved in the extra which is unnecessary. And Jesus had laid the boundaries down. This is the reason I'm doing this. It's important that leaders get into a position to serve, but it's important that they make known the boundaries of that service and learn to say no. That way it's possible to avoid burnout. Moving on, we see the nature of Jesus, the nature of his leadership. He said to his disciples, "I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you." Let's just define leadership. A couple of definitions offered in the devotional was anybody who has the responsibility to provide a large or small group of people combined in a common objective or endeavour with a sense of direction and to organise how it can be achieved. And there's another one, leadership described as a process of leading people in the right direction in order to achieve goals. So in other words, we can see that the real function of the leader is to lead people from A to B. Whatever A or B is and however it's done will depend upon the circumstances and what the task in hand is. But too many leaders fail because they encourage people to do what they say rather than copy what they do. Now, you see, leadership, to be a true leader, we need to be like Jesus and walk the walk as well as talk the talk. At that point is necessary to say that is why leadership is so difficult. Let's just carry on. Thursday. Again, a responsibility to grow. Now we're talking here about a ceiling. Most assuredly, said Jesus, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master. And he went on. And also in Luke 6:40 we can read what he said. A disciple is not about his teacher, but everyone who is perfectly trained will be like his teacher. Now, one of two things must happen if we're to see growth in the members of the group that we're leading. Now, first thing is, we could ensure that we grow in wisdom, knowledge and skill, so that we were, as it were, raising the bar for the group as time goes on. By our own personal development, moving beyond where it was. Watchman Nee used to say that all an elder in a church needed to be was one day ahead of everybody else. Secondly, we can hand over the reins of leadership to somebody who can take the group further than we can ourselves. Or alternatively, as if you like, individuals match our skill, our ability, our whatever, we can then direct them to move on to somebody else who can take them further so that they will reach their full potential. And underlying all that, of course, is an attitude of humility. Good leaders are humble people. And finally, we come up to Friday. And Jesus said, I know whom I've chosen. And at surface level, when people in leadership treat everybody that they're leading in the same way, it seems a fair thing to do. Well, it may be fair, but it's also foolish. Jesus knew that only one disciple would betray him, Judas Iscariot. However, within his 12 chosen disciples, he also knew that Peter would deny him, that John loved him, and that Thomas needed help to believe, and so on. You see, he was aware of the individual strengths and weaknesses of his disciples. And a good leader, he will understand that all will be pressed into service to achieve an objective, but that he would need to know each individual well enough to support them in accomplishing their tasks. Now that, applies to sort of small group leadership. And but after all, the Prime Minister may lead the country, but actually he's a leader of what? The cabinet. He's a small group leader. So that's so important to know the people that we're working with. Well, bless you. Have a great weekend, and hope you get your preparations for Christmas finished, and I shall see you next week.
How deep is his love? How deep is God's love? That's what we need to learn. 'Cause we're living in a world of hurts, breaking us down.